Even though things seem to be resolving very well in Ottawa, this state of emergency is not over.
Justin Trudeau is not done going after the Canadian truckers, even though the police broke up the convoy and arrested nearly 200 protesters this weekend. Ottawa's police chief says they will track down and punish anyone who is involved in a protest.
If you are involved in this protest, we will actively look to identify you and follow up with financial sanctions and criminal charges. Absolutely. This investigation will go on for months to come.
And truckers who have not been arrested are dealing with the fallout of frozen bank accounts and seized assets.
They've taken my truck. I don't know where it is. On Friday, they locked up my personal and trucking business accounts. And also we have another business and they locked that account up too. And it had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, just going to take everything from you because you spoke up.
Right.
Dana, you know a little bit about, I don't know, handling a crisis, communications.
You could write a book of how not to handle a crisis, and Justin Trudeau would be like on the cover. This, but what really bothers me about it is the gentleman you just saw that was interviewed by Bill this morning. So he has a separate business that has nothing to do with the protester, and they seized those bank accounts as well. So he can't make any sort of living. I think it's outrageous for them to say that they're going to track people down for months. They left. They're no longer there. The crisis, so to speak, is over. I also wonder about where are the pro bono lawyers to try to help challenge these accounts being seized? Because to me, I don't know Canadian law, but I would assume maybe Emily could say, like, there has to be some way to push back against that. And I think about all those celebrities who say they're going to move to Canada every time a Republican president is elected. I assume that they're probably glad that they live in a country where their property can't be seized because they sent a donation to the truckers.
Jesse, we're talking about seizing bank accounts and assets. This one guy said that they seized assets of a business that has nothing to do with his trucking business. This is retaliation. How would that settle in this country? Like, what would we do as Americans if the government came after us for exercising, I don't know, our Second Amendment right?
Well, that's why we have a Second Amendment, Joey Jones, exactly. We must send peacekeeping forces to Canada at this point. That's our only recourse. You know, unfortunately, Canada has a lot of British DNA in them. They never rebelled against the monarchy like we did here in America. So I think they're more accustomed to king-like rule. And I only say this having been to Canada twice. But I looked into their legal system, and it's not anything like the freedom we have here. They don't take religious liberty as seriously as we do. Their gun control laws are hyper strict. You can't even leave your house with a handgun in Canada. You know that the government runs the healthcare system over there, and hate speech is a crime. So when we think of things happening in Canada, it's not just like some colder version of America just to the north. I mean, this is a radically different legal system. So we're shocked when they seize assets.
Colder, whiter.
You know, in America, you seize an asset in America, it's because you forged some checks or your back taxes haven't cleared with the IRS. You donated to a peaceful protest. That would happen anywhere in the northern hemisphere is crazy. So if America wants to be respected as a beacon of liberty, Geraldo, a shining city on a hill, when communist countries do this, when dictators do things like this, freeze assets, go door to door, put people in prison for peaceful protests, we speak up, and we should speak up. And the fact that they're doing that right up there, Geraldo, we should be screaming.
You have been speaking up, and I want to know if you're going to stick with these truckers now that they need you for their legal defense. You egging them on along with other conservative commentators.
Geraldo, it's over. I'm standing on principle. Don't seize assets.
I was arrested after taking the bar, July 1969. I was arrested in Washington, D.C. in the protests. I was going to be admitted to the bar in November. I was totally delayed because of my protest participation. You have to understand there's consequences. When you shut down a country,
did they seize your very large assets?
When you shut down a country, as they did in Canada.
So you're saying that free speech, although it exists in a different way there, should result in being trampled by a horse and having your livelihood towed and locked away
I don't want to
somewhere?
get into horse trampling again. We'll get into the Border Patrol and all that. It's not about horses and trampling. It's about shutting down Canada for 3.5 weeks. The people of Ottawa were totally inconvenienced. They had trucks running all night long. the horns blowing. They had people they wore masks. They were being made fun of by the protesters. You paint them in this picture like they're, it's Robin Hood and the Seven Dwarfs.
You're saying the protesters made fun of someone?
They harass people.
Oh my God!
Imagine if you had
Put him in prison.
If you had a mask on. Look at that sissy. Look at him.
Oh my God, my poor feelings.
Oh, look at that. What is he? Oh, he's
You
afraid.
just made fun of
Afraid
Kamala's
of a
mask.
microbe.
Well,
You just made fun of Kamala.
Emily, I guess it's a good thing we have the First Amendment in this country because I remember not that long ago, there were protests that we would go on this channel and say, hey, we support that protest, but when it turns into a riot, then we feel like the police should come in, and you know what? They didn't come in, and they burned federal buildings down, and it got really ugly really quick. That hasn't happened up there, but instead, most of them left, and the ones that didn't got arrested, but they're still, according to the police chief, going to hunt you down and bring consequences. That's vindictive, is it not?
Yeah, so, well, I just want to respond to what you said. So the reason that your bar license was, you as in you, was held up, your license is suspended, terminated, or not instated if it's a crime of moral turpitude. And protesting under protected free speech is not that. When you talk about the inconvenience Canadians suffered at the hands of these peaceful protesters, that pales in comparison with having a voice. And you do that little violin, Geraldo, but this is people's livelihoods. These are people's convictions.
What about the livelihoods of the auto workers who didn't get the parts so they couldn't put together their Fords and their Toyotas because these people closed the bridge?
Again, that's a minor inconvenience.
Yeah, one of those is my best friend, and he would call you right now and tell you he also doesn't want a government telling him he should get a vaccine or vaccinate his kids. And that's part of this problem here. That's the rest of this conversation. It's not just the inconvenience of the people that live in Ottawa or perhaps Washington, D.C.
Yeah, and just as a quick final point, the Supreme Court here obviously has ensured that political donations are protected by free speech. Canada obviously doesn't have that same protection as we know, but there's a big argument here that financial deplatforming is the next step of this online censorship that we've experienced sort of by social media, by PayPal and whatnot, sort of identifying, well, we're going to take this person off, we're going to deny them. But what we are seeing, the magnitude and the ripple effect of these people's livelihoods being absolutely catastrophically expunged. I know we have to go. That's something that we need to keep on. And if the pet relinquishment thing actually happens, there is a special place in the endless embers for that government.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.